Hey everybody, Malice here again with another video, and we're going back to an old friend, the face-off videos. Now, if you don't know these, this is generally where I take two quite similar units within a faction, put them against each other, weigh up the pros and cons, and in the end decide which one I think is the better choice of the two. So, this time in the red corner we have the Allarus Terminators of the Adeptus Custode, going up against their brethren Terminators, the Aquilon Terminators, also of the Adeptus Custode. So, let's have a look and weigh up the pros and cons of each, and we'll start off with the similarities. Stat-wise, they are both identical. So, you're looking at toughness 7, 4 up invuln, 2 up save, 4 to 5 wounds a pop. So, both incredibly tanky units. New to this edition at least, Aquilon Terminators can now access stratagems that were previously the domain of Allarus Terminators, and Allarus Terminator armoured characters can join Aquilon Terminator units. So with the similarities and slight rule tweaks out the way, let's get into the meat of it. Now, normally I don't factor this in, but with the case of some custode units I have to, and that is the ease of purchase. So first point to the Allarus Terminators, you can buy them in pretty much any Games Workshop store or any independent retailer, with them being a plastic kit as opposed to the Aquilon being a resin kit, so pretty much the domain of the official online Warhammer store or Warhammer World. Next up we go into the weapons, and we'll start with the ranged weapons. This is where I give the point to the Aquilon Terminators, because I think they have a little bit more versatility and zip with their weaponry. They have the option to take flame pike weapons, so you can do all those lovely flamer effects, and their standard guns have that bit more zip and zest than the bolted weapons that the Allarus have built into their spears and axes, which will now come on to the melee side of the equation. This is where it could get a bit more complicated, because on one hand, yes, the Allarus, if you give them the Castellan axes, hit harder. They hit strength 9, 3 points of damage, but suffer in the fact of only -1 armour penetration. When you bring in the Guardian Spears versus the Solar Gauntlets that the Aquilons have, they're pretty much a dead heat. They're virtually identical. 2 points of damage, -2 AP, strength 7 or 8. Strength 8 I think, actually thinking about it. And then you have the power talons that the Aquilon have. The weakest of the bunch, still at strength 7, but only do 1 point of damage, but equally you get a couple of more hits. So I suppose, which one's better? Well, a lot depends on your melee. Personally, I think this one's a bit of a dead heat. So as much as the Aquilon take the points with the range, melee wise I can't separate them. So we'll move on to the unit abilities. Now both have an ability that allows rerolls. The Aquilons have a more utilitarian one in the fact it works against all types of units, however you can only reroll wound rolls of a 1. The Allarus, whilst a bit more specialised, with theirs only working against characters, monsters and beasts or vehicles. I can't quite recall which one of the two. I think vehicles. It's not hinging on any particular roll, so you can reroll any failed wound roll against those unit types with your Allarus. So that, that one's again a bit of a dead heat, because they both have pros, they both have cons. Again, it's dependent on your own meta, and your mileage may vary. But now we come to the big one, and this is where the Allarus goes into the lead. Points. Now, as a custode player myself, points are a premium for us. We have to budget and account for every single point within the game, because our stuff is expensive. If we take Imperial and Chaos Knights out of the equation, per man, our stuff is the most expensive in the game, points wise. So any points you can save or budget otherwise, you're all about. Now the Allarus take this if you compare the respective unit sizes. Now Aquilons can only be taken in 3 and 6 man squads, so it's those we'll be looking at. And when it comes to those, the Allarus are actually cheaper. 15 points for in a 3 man squad, and 30 points in a 6 man squad. Excuse me. So with all of that, which one is the better choice? Well, I have a bit of bias towards the Allarus. I like both. I will concede the Aquilon are probably a bit more utilitarian. They've got that zippier shooting. Now, we're not going to take weapon ranges into effect, because they both operate within a similar shooting range ability. So that's a moot point. It's really all about the zip and punchiness of the range weapons, and that is where the Aquilons take it. But personally, I would probably in a lot of cases favour the Allarus purely for the ease of actually getting hold of them. Because like I said, the Aquilons, there's only really 2 sources to get hold of them outside of second hand, which I don't factor into these things when I do these face-off videos. So I think the Allarus takes it, but either way, both are very, very good units, and I really like both of them. But what do you guys think? As always, let me know in the comments, and I shall catch you in the next video. Bye!